Hello, everybody. I was on my way to the gym, and since yesterday, after I recorded the video, I've been tossing in my head a question that's been often made to me. That question is, why does it matter? Why should anything related to Indigenous topics matter? And the simplistic response to that question is because Indigenous people are still here. Now, there is a sort of spectrum that I refer to as indigeneity. We have the sun in this universe, so to speak, which are our traditional, mind you, full blooded brothers and sisters who may inhabit the rainforest, remote village in Mexico, Central or South America, First Nations in the heart of the reservation, heck, in the heart of the barrio. That's where you get a lot of people who heal traditionally, who continue native tradition that reminds us of our indigenous past. These people I refer to, these individuals, these groups of people I refer to as our beacons, which we are to exalt, and which are a window that allows us to view into our collective indigenous past. Now, within that spectrum, we find ourselves as well. Even myself, as a colonized Chicano, I have to be speaking to you in English, Spanish, or whatever language is imposed in the nation that I inhabit. I have to be dressing, in conventional garb. I have to, have a 9 to 5, have some sort of ways to sustain myself, to survive in this capitalist reality. Now, notwithstanding the fact that I am not closer to the core of this spectrum of indigeneity, does not discredit the fact that I am also incorporated in that, for that which um, assails any one community from within the spectrum of indigenous people throughout the continent and beyond affects myself as well. Now, a few years ago, when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was being popularized because of everything that befell African Americans, particularly in the hands of white supremacy, I was confronted by a couple of peers of mine of Chicano and Mexican American descent who asked, why are you so involved and so vehement in supporting the cause when you're not black? And I just pretty much said that I myself, as a minority member, am no more uh, immune to these acts of persecution and discrimination and racism than the next minority member. So, as such, it behooves me to also become involved and let my voice, join itself to the plethora of voices that are fighting for equality and stuff like that. Now, interesting that a couple of years after that whole Black Lives Matter, um, that is when the whole detainment of Central Americans at the border happened, and how that was pretty much our testimony to know that it could very well happen to every ethnic minority, by the oppressive majority. Now, there are two completely different instances. I don't want anybody of African American descent to feel that I am in any way just grouping everything all together. But as a result, and I myself am a legal citizen. A lot of people that I know are legal citizens, so they feel that this detainment of illegals shouldn't affect them in any way. But they fail to see that as a result of these detainments of so-called illegal immigrants, the racism and bigotry, pretty much ricochets and may affect a person like myself. I can walk into a convenience store in a lot of these racist little towns, and they're not going to question whether I'm legal or not. They're automatically going to assume that I am a Mexican, and as such, my citizenship and residency is questionable. Now, after the atrocity happened in El Paso, I have written about it and will speak about it on a different video. How barely I was affected, since I've lived in El Paso. I was born there, and as such, I'm very much part of the community, even though I don't live there currently. Um, I remember it happened at a Walmart. I was employed at Walmart when that happened, and that was crazy. How I had gone to break, and I was reviewing this stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Like it's dumb. It left me dumbfounded. Whenever I was on lunch, because I had a whole hour, that's when I actually got to read the Facebook posts, the videos. I watched the videos and everybody, and I said, "Wow, this really did happen to 20 plus people. People actually were murdered in literal cold blood." And I remember going to my car, and as I'm walking, I was emotional. I'm not gonna lie, but as I'm walking to my car, there's a truck I'm sorry, but they look like a bunch of, racist hillbillies. There's a truck, creeping very slowly as I'm walking to my car, and I said, I could very well be next. This hate does not discriminate. This hate does not stop and ask for my papers. This hate is just going to shoot the first Mexican person that you see. I went into my car, and I was succumbed with, emotionalism, because that could have been your friend, your family member. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's when it really hit me. They hate Mexicans, they hate Central Americans because we're invading the country, because we can so easily be killed at Walmart for just looking the way we do. And that is why it matters. I'm a colonized Chicano. I'm legal. I'm a citizen. And it could very well happen to me because I look Mexican. I could be citizen times 200, but I'm still going to look Mexican, as far as I know, as far as I appreciate it. Now, the current Bolivian regime, I really haven't looked too much into it. I just pretty much perused articles and stuff like that. But from what I gather, it's a Christian apparatus that is once again using manifest destiny as their tool for the advancement of their capitalist, regime. And I speak about my book about manifest destiny. Pretty much, manifest destiny deems a Christian white person superior to all these colored heathens. They love to propagate the satanic and demonic rituals of the South American indigenous people, while promoting for God so loved the world and this message of light and hope of Christianity. Half of these people probably haven't read the Bible extensively to see the all the blood and all the gore that is also contained therein. So this demonization of these indigenous people in South America and elsewhere is once again those efforts, that agenda of dehumanizing these people by citing their religious beliefs and rituals and culture as something demonic and satanic, while Christianity is the way to go. Here is a white-er, group of people, because a lot of them are probably darker than me, and yet, they swear that they're criollos, these whiter individuals, these Christian individuals, pretty much demonizing these indigenous peoples and using the same tactic of white supremacy to their advantage. And that's why it should matter, because we are no less susceptible. Yes, a lot of people have criticized me. Oh, how oppressed are you on your way to Starbucks to get an Americano coffee? You know what? Oppression takes on many forms, and as such, some of it is psychological, some of it is, it's spiritual. Spiritual. That is what a lot of people are oftentimes forced into Christianity. Why? Because I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to be living in sin. I want God to love me. And there's certain various degrees of oppression. And, yes, there are the more volatile ones. And yes, there are the lesser ones, but not one is, more excusable than the other. And as such, we need to advocate for the totality of indigeneity throughout the continent. I will develop this further. I even got a little emotional, and I'm a bit scattered at this point, but I really did want to put it out there. I will add, because I really like to post something and then add on to it, not just put everything in one video and bombard you with what I have to share. But this is just a beginning of something that we can begin to consider. Why should it matter? Why? Because this is ongoing. We read in history books, well, back in the day, there was a Trail of Tears. Back in the day, there was a Holocaust. That's back in the day. It was back in the day, and it was to a greater degree back then, but it's still tumbling down to our current reality. And it can get worse or it can get better. And it all depends on the collective humanity living at the time. So as such, I'll leave you with that thought before I get lazy and skip the gym. And I hope to speak to you all soon. Please comment and like, and also check out the book, which is going to help a lot of us. There's a lot of tools out there, as I've mentioned, but this is just one of the tools to lead you to decolonization and re-indigenization.